16th, 2010. I am interviewing Larry Powell. Larry Powell is 64 years old. He was born on December 9th, 1945. My name is Heather Houlihan, and I'll be the interviewer. Larry is my grandpa. Grandpa, could you state for the recording and what branch of service you served in?
U.S. Army.
What was your rank?
Specialist 4.
Where did you serve?
Vietnam.
How many years were you in the service?
2 years.
So you were in the Vietnam War?
Yes.
Where were you living at the time?
At the time I left for the service, I was living at home.
How did you happen to serve in the war?
I was drafted. Basically, I volunteered for the draft to go because they were going to draft me in December, so I went in September so I could get in earlier. And then when I got out of basic and after my training, they sent me to Vietnam.
What were you doing before you were drafted?
I worked at Ford Meter Box before I left for the service.
Did anyone else in your family serve in the military?
Yes, my father served, and I've had two nephews serve, and a great nephew serve.
Can you tell me about adapting to the military life? Physical regimen, breaks, food, soldier life?
Yes, it's very difficult to adapt once you get in the service, though, and you live it every day. You adapt pretty quick. 8 weeks of basic training introduces you to the military life and the lifestyle of the military. After that, well, you just continue living that style because that's what you're used to, and that's what you do every day.
How did you choose the branch of service you served in?
I didn't choose. When the Army drafts you, they draft you.
What kind of training did you have?
I had radio teletype, radio, Morse code, teletype, jungle training, combat infantry training.
What friendships formed?
You form a lot of friendships with military people because while you're in the military, that's your family. That's all your family.
Where did you serve?
Vietnam.
Action or duties away from the front line?
Vietnam didn't have any front lines. All your action was at any time at any given place. You could have action. There wasn't no front lines to it.
How did you stay in touch with those back home?
Well, by writing letters and receiving letters, and my parents sent me the newspaper now and then to keep up with local news.
What did you do recreation?
Played some cards if you had time, and listened to music if we could, if somebody sent tapes over, but we didn't have any TVs or any radios to really have for recreation, and we didn't really have a whole lot of time for recreation sometimes.
Were you still overseas when the war ended?
No, I came home in '67. The war probably lasted several years after I left.
Where were you?
I was at home. When the war ended, I was at home, yes.
How did you return home?
I returned home on a jet. I flew across a commercial flight from Saigon to Tokyo, from Tokyo to Fairbanks, Alaska, and from Fairbanks, Alaska to San Francisco, and from San Francisco to Chicago, and from Chicago to Marion, and from Marion to Wabash. I drove. We flew over on a DC-6 cargo plane. One engine burned up and the other started leaking oil, and we had to return to Hawaii for several days. So basically, I came home a lot better than I went over.
Reception by family or community?
Reception by family was fine. It was really great, but community sometimes didn't accept the Vietnam veterans back very well. It was kind of tough sometimes in the community.
How hard was it to return to civilian life?
It was difficult sometimes too, because the people in the community didn't accept Vietnam as a war, and we were just looked down upon. We were downcast by a lot of the community. So civilian life it was kind of tough to get back to civilian life at first.
Are you a member of any veterans organization?
I used to belong to the Veterans of Foreign Wars, but I don't no more. But I do belong to the American Legion.
Any contact with fellow veterans?
Not recently. I used to stop down in Glasgow, Kentucky to visit a friend that was in Vietnam with me. But since then, I've lost contact with everybody.
How was the beginning of the military affect your life?
It's made it difficult sometimes to adjust to things. I still have nightmares and bad dreams sometimes. That's part of it.
Lesson learned?
Lesson learned? Well, you just learn respect. You definitely learn respect by going to the military and going overseas to a country where there's no leadership. There's no it's just so filthy, and they don't have nothing. So you learn to appreciate what you have at home, because if you go see how them people live or had to live, you respect anything you have at home.
Is there anything that you forgot to? Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, I think that's fine.